There were countless DEA agents, cops, and informants who could have caught Heisenberg, but none of them did. None of them even came close, except Hank Schrader.
We don't want people to start wondering about you, right?
He was the only one who could catch Heisenberg, but it also destroyed him. The loud, crude DEA agent everyone laughed at and underestimated was the one person who consistently got close to uncovering the truth.
So I do a little digging, and bingo. Pollos Hermanos has a main distribution center.
But how and why? Why Hank? Why was he the only one who could catch Heisenberg? At first glance, Hank might not look like the perfect detective, but he had something nobody else had: an instinct for the hunt, a nose for lies, a relentless drive, and a gut feeling that wouldn't let him stop until he had answers.
Property of J.P. Wynn Chemistry Lab. That's Walt School.
From the very start, Hank was circling the truth without even realizing it. But then again, who would have thought Walter White, his brother-in-law, a chemistry teacher, could become Heisenberg? But let's go through the story moment by moment to see all the times Hank could have caught Heisenberg and why he was the only one who ever had a real chance. It all starts with the blue meth. When Hank hears about a new drug hitting the streets of Albuquerque, he immediately knows it's not the same cheap product everyone else is pushing. This stuff is pure, almost chemically impossible. Right away, Hank becomes obsessed.
The purest they've ever seen.
99.1%.
Remember the barbecue scene where Hank jokingly invites Walt on a ride-along? Come see how real men catch bad guys, he laughs.
Get a little excitement in your life.
Walt's in the back seat when they bust a meth lab. But then, Walt spots someone escaping through a window, Jesse Pinkman. That moment literally creates Heisenberg. Who knows what would have happened if Hank had never taken him on the ride-along? Hank literally created Heisenberg without even realizing it.
Maybe you and I could partner up.
At this point, Heisenberg is just a name, a rumor, and the DEA treats Tuco Salamanca like the man behind the blue meth. But Hank knows, or feels, that this is way beyond Tuco.
Get in.
When Walt and Jesse are kidnapped by Tuco, Hank unknowingly follows a trail that takes him right to Tuco's hideout. He doesn't know it yet, but he's about to walk into a gunfight that nearly changes everything. Hank kills Tuco in self-defense, and suddenly the path to Heisenberg is wide open.
Hank, what?
The only problem? Tuco's death cuts off the trail. Walt and Jesse are able to run away, but then again, if Hank had only been a little bit better at his job, he would probably have seen Walt and Jesse running away in an open field of the desert.
You led him right to us.
Then comes the RV, one of the most suspenseful near captures in the entire series. After months of digging, Hank finally connects Jesse Pinkman to the meth trade. He learns Jesse owns an old RV, and he suspects it's being used as a mobile lab. What Hank doesn't realize is that it's not just Jesse's lab, it's Walt's too.
Got a warrant?
This sets up one of the most iconic cat and mouse moments in Breaking Bad history. Hank corners the RV with Walt trapped inside. All he needs to do is open the door, and Heisenberg's entire empire collapses right there in a junkyard. But Walt makes a desperate move. He has Saul's secretary fake a phone call about Hank's wife being in the hospital. Hank panics, rushes away, and misses his chance by seconds. But what makes Hank different from every other investigator in Breaking Bad is his ability to keep pushing, even when the trail seems cold. After surviving the shootout with the cousins and being nearly paralyzed, Hank has every reason to step back. But instead, he doubles down. Even from his hospital bed, he starts investigating Gail Bedecker, the lab assistant connected to the blue meth. Everyone at the DEA is satisfied when Gail turns up dead, case closed. But Hank notices the meth quality stayed consistent after Gail's death. If Gail was the master cook, who's still making blue crystal? This leads him to Gustavo Fring and the biggest bust of his career.
So is he gonna kill him?
Is who gonna kill who?
Gus. Is he gonna kill Mr. White's brother-in-law?
While the DEA sees Gus as an untouchable businessman, Hank quietly builds a case against him. Piece by piece, he gathers evidence until finally, he exposes Gus as the meth kingpin of the Southwest. Here's what made Hank uniquely qualified to catch Heisenberg. He understood the psychology of the criminal he was chasing. Think about it. Every other law enforcement officer was looking for a typical drug kingpin, someone motivated by money, power, or violence. But Hank, through years of unconscious observation, had developed an intuitive understanding of who Heisenberg really was. Remember the dinner conversations, the family gatherings? Hank had witnessed Walt's ego countless times. He'd seen how Walt reacted to being underestimated, how he bristled at being dismissed, how he needed to prove his intelligence. Without realizing it, Hank had been profiling Heisenberg for years.
Another personal, Walt, but you wouldn't know a criminal if he was close enough to check you for a hernia.
This is why Hank kept pursuing leads that other agents abandoned. He wasn't just following evidence. He was following a psychological profile of someone who needed to be the smartest person in the room. Now, this is where things get personal. Hank starts to notice strange coincidences around Walt. He's always nearby when things happen. He knows more about chemistry than he lets on. And he always seems to have an excuse for being absent during major events.
Hey, whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Thought you might have fallen in there.
No, just,
But the most painful part of this investigation is that Hank doesn't want to suspect Walt. Walt is family. He's the brother-in-law he grills meat with, the guy he brings beer to, the quiet chemistry teacher who couldn't possibly be Heisenberg.
You gotta know that I would never put you on the spot or make you uncomfortable.
Hank, you could just cut to the chase.
Remember when Hank jokes about Walt being a criminal mastermind in front of the family? Everyone laughs, but the irony is unbearable. Hank is unknowingly pointing to the truth, and Walt is sitting right there. Hank had access to Walt in ways no other investigator could match. He observed Walt's behavior patterns, his knowledge base, his psychological tells. He witnessed Walt's transformation from mild-mannered teacher to confident manipulator. But that same closeness created emotional blind spots. Hank's love for his family, his loyalty to Walt, his desire to protect everyone from painful truths, these human qualities made him hesitate at crucial moments. Other DEA agents might have followed leads more aggressively because they had nothing to lose. But Hank was investigating his own family, and that changed everything. And then it happens.
To WW, my star, my perfect silence.
The single greatest payoff in television history comes not from lab evidence, not from surveillance, not from cartel intelligence, but from a bathroom break. Hank's at Walt's house during a family gathering. He needs a bathroom, spots a copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass on the back of the toilet, and opens it casually. Inside is an inscription, "To my favorite WW, it's an honor working with you. Fondly, GB. Gail Bedecker, GB. WW, Walter White."
You got me.
In that moment, everything clicks. Years of investigation snap into focus like puzzle pieces falling into place. The blue meth, the lab notes, the timing of Walt's mysterious disappearances. The man he's been hunting isn't some criminal mastermind hiding in shadows. He's been eating dinner at Hank's table for years. The moment Hank discovers the truth, everything changes. But what makes Hank's approach brilliant is that he doesn't immediately arrest Walt. Instead, he does something far more devastating. He confronts him personally. The garage scene is one of Breaking Bad's most intense moments. Hank closes the garage door and faces Walt as both family member and federal agent. "It was you," he says simply. "All along, it was you." What follows isn't a typical arrest. It's a psychological duel between two men who know each other's every weakness. Walt tries to manipulate Hank the same way he's manipulated everyone else, with lies, emotional appeals, and veiled threats. But Hank is immune to Walt's usual tactics because he finally sees Walt for who he really is.
I don't even know who I'm talking to.
Walt tries to play the family card, the cancer card, even suggests that Hank's investigation is over and he should just walk away. Once Hank knows the truth, we see him at his most dangerous. All the family loyalty that held him back becomes fuel for his determination. Walt didn't just betray the DEA, he betrayed Hank personally. This is where Hank's unique qualifications for catching Heisenberg become most apparent. He knows Walt's psychology better than anyone. He knows Walt's pride, his need for control, his family weak spots. Hank doesn't just hunt Heisenberg with evidence, he hunts him with intimate knowledge. But Walt isn't going down without a fight. He creates the confession video that frames Hank as the real Heisenberg, using Hank's own gambling problem and medical bills against him. It's psychological warfare at its finest. Walt knows exactly which pressure points to hit because he's been watching Hank for years too. Hank's masterstroke comes when he realizes he needs Jesse Pinkman. In one of the series' most morally complex moments, Hank manipulates Jesse's guilt and fear to turn him against Walt. This isn't standard DEA procedure, it's personal vendetta disguised as police work. Hank gets Jesse to record a detailed confession about every crime Walt committed, every person he hurt, every line he crossed. He's using a drug dealer as his star witness, making promises he can't keep, and manipulating a traumatized young man's emotions. In his obsession to catch Walt, Hank becomes almost as morally compromised as his target, willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve his goal.
Ready to kick some ass, partner?
Finally, Hank gets his chance. Using Jesse as bait, he lures Walt to the desert, where Walt first started cooking meth. It's poetic justice. Heisenberg will be captured where he was born. The plan works perfectly. Walt panics when he thinks Jesse is destroying his money and rushes to the burial site. Hank and Gomez are waiting. For a brief, shining moment, Hank has won. "Walter White, you're under arrest," Hank says, reading Walt his rights in the middle of the desert.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
He even makes the phone call to Marie. "It's over. I got him." After years of hunting, after being shot and nearly killed, after discovering his own family betrayed him, he finally has Heisenberg in handcuffs. But the victory lasts exactly long enough for Jack's neo-Nazi gang to arrive. The shootout that follows takes Hank's life. Hank Schrader seemed like a loud, simple man, but he was a relentless bloodhound. He never stopped digging when others moved on. He trusted his instincts when evidence didn't fit. Most crucially, he faced uncomfortable truths, even when they destroyed his own family. By the time he pieced together what no one else could, it was too late. The criminal he'd been hunting was Walter White, his brother-in-law, his blind spot, and ultimately, his executioner. Hank's tragedy wasn't that he failed to catch Heisenberg, it's that he succeeded.